Hi everybody, Iowa Hog Rider here. Come along and join good friend Thomas Den Hartog and I as we tour the Templeton Distillery in Templeton, Iowa. Hope you enjoy the video. Templeton is a city in Carroll County, Iowa, and was platted in 1882. The city was probably named for a railroad worker, and the city was incorporated on September 28th of 1883. And the city is perhaps best known as the home of Templeton Rye, a brand of rye manufactured during the Prohibition era that was very popular in Chicago, Omaha, and Kansas City speakeasies. Now, in hard times, people are often forced to find ways to make money. Sometimes those means of generating much-needed revenue aren't always legal. Many enterprising Carroll County farmers found this to be a viable way to supplement income during the Great Depression. At the height of the bootlegging during the Great Depression, Templeton, with a population of less than 500 people, was using 3 railroad cars of sugar a month. Templeton is perhaps best known for Templeton Rye, which it produced in great quantities during the Prohibition era. Remember, Prohibition became law on January 16, 1920, when the 18th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution was enacted, forbidding the manufacture and sale of whiskey and other alcoholic beverages. In 1920, Templeton, like the rest of the nation, was trying to recover from the effects of World War I. This is the year, according to seasoned opinions, that bootlegging, Templeton style, began to appear. Early products were made from corn, but shortly thereafter, the famous rye whiskey was commonly produced. As the 20s progressed, more people became involved in the illegal process until it reached its peak in 1930 and 31. Local residents had large families or mortgage payments to be made, and many saw this as a means of survival. Now, the going price for a gallon of Templeton rye was about $5.25 to $5.50. Many out-of-town buyers asked for some of the special stuff and paid a premium for it. As the reputation grew, the demand increased until at one time as many as 3 truckloads of kegs left Templeton in 1 week, destined for Des Moines, Denver, and Chicago. Now, many legends and rumors have surfaced over the years concerning Templeton Rye. Al Capone, notorious gang leader in Chicago, is said to have been involved in the story. However, evidence then and now indicates he was never more than a paying customer. Capone favored Templeton as his drink of choice, and even supplied it to speakeasies in Chicago, New York, and San Francisco. Legend had it that Capone, who was jailed for tax evasion in 1931, had bottles smuggled into his cell on Alcatraz Island. Now, all of this would have been very exciting and very profitable, except for one problem: the federal agents. They did their best to enforce the law, and especially so in Templeton. The local booze runners did all they could to avoid being caught. After a while, the federal men and some of the hard-to-catch bootleggers knew each other and almost had a mutual respect developed, with the agents vowing to get them the next time. Reducing Templeton wasn't easy during Prohibition, but the sheriff was on the side of the bootleggers. One of the signals was when he was wearing a hat. That meant that revenue agents were out close, so watch out. Now, Templeton Rye is distilled from a grain mix containing 90% rye, which is a key characteristic that distinguishes it from predominantly corn-based bourbon. The rye used in Templeton comes from Europe, where it thrives in the cooler climate. The whiskey is aged 4 years in new oak barrels before being bottled. And now, I hope you enjoy the rest of the video.
If you don't get that much of a smell out of it, some people aren't as good smelling directly off of liquids. What you'll want to do is afterwards, after we're done doing the tasting, take your finger, stick it in there, rub down your skin, and then smell. That actually will get you a better smell off of it. Okay, so then, the proper way of doing it is, you start to kind of roll it in the glass, and what you're doing is you're looking for the legs. How does the alcohol stick and fall? Okay? The longer it takes to fall, supposedly the better alcohol, higher alcohol content. This is 96 proof. It should hang a little bit at least.
Looks like it
Okay,
does.
okay, so now you're going to take a little sip of this and let it sit on your tongue for a minute. Okay? Swallow. Breathe in and out a couple of times. Technically, you're supposed to breathe in and out through your mouth. I don't notice a difference. I've tried both ways. Okay, so after you do that, if you take another sip of it, it should actually make the flavors of your alcohol come out a little bit more, and it'll make it a little easier swallowing wise.